Let me be honest with you about something that most eye doctors will not bring up during a routine checkup. Every single morning, millions of Americans over the age of 50 are doing something so ordinary, so automatic, so deeply woven into their daily routine that they never think twice about it. And yet, right now, leading ophthalmologists across the country are raising serious alarms about this exact habit. Not because it is rare or extreme, but because it is one of the most common things people do the moment they wake up. We are talking about something that happens in the first 60 seconds of your morning, before your coffee is ready, before you say a single word to anyone. And, according to new research, if you are over 50, this habit could be quietly accelerating one of the most devastating forms of vision loss in the world. I know that sounds dramatic, but by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly what is happening inside your eyes, why the damage builds so slowly you never notice it until it is too late, and what 3 simple changes ophthalmologists now recommend to protect your vision starting this morning. So stay with me here, because what comes next genuinely surprised me, and it is going to surprise you too. Let us start with a simple question. What is the very first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Think about it for just a second. For most people over 50 in this country, the answer is almost always the same. You open your eyes, and within seconds, sometimes before your feet even touch the floor, you reach for your phone. You check your messages, you scroll through the news. Maybe you check the weather or your email. It feels harmless. It feels productive. It feels like you are just getting a head start on your day. But here is what is actually happening inside your eyes in those first few minutes, and why doing this in the dark or in low light is something that researchers and eye specialists are increasingly describing as genuinely dangerous for people in the 50 and older age group. When you have been asleep for 6, 7, or 8 hours, your eyes have been resting in near total darkness. Your pupils are fully dilated. The cells inside your retina, especially the ones responsible for processing light and color, have been in a kind of recovery mode. This is actually a critical biological window. During sleep, your eyes flush out waste products and replenish essential nutrients that protect the photoreceptor cells lining the back of your eye. Think of it like an overnight maintenance cycle that your body runs automatically. The problem begins the moment you grab your phone and shove a bright glowing screen directly in front of your wide-open, fully dilated pupils before they have had any chance to adjust. Ophthalmologists have a term for what happens in this situation. It is called high-intensity retinal light exposure during a state of dark adaptation. In simpler terms, your eye is essentially flooded with concentrated light energy at the exact moment when its defenses are at their lowest. And here is the part that makes this especially concerning for people over 50. When you are young, your eyes contain significantly higher levels of a protective pigment called macular pigment. This pigment acts like a natural sunscreen for the most sensitive part of your retina, called the macula. The macula is responsible for your central vision. It is what allows you to read a page, recognize a face, see fine details, and drive safely. But as you move through your 50s and into your 60s and beyond, the levels of this protective macular pigment naturally begin to decline. The macula becomes increasingly vulnerable to light-induced oxidative stress, and that is exactly the kind of stress you create every single morning when you grab that phone before your eyes have adjusted. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I have been doing this for years and my vision seems fine, and I understand that reaction completely. Here is the thing that makes this so insidious. The damage does not happen all at once. There is no single morning where you wake up and suddenly notice a problem. What the research shows is that the harm accumulates slowly over months and years through a process that scientists call cumulative phototoxicity. Each morning, the repeated assault of high-intensity, short-wavelength blue light from your phone screen, striking a dilated, unprotected retina, adds just a tiny bit more oxidative damage to the delicate photoreceptor cells in your macula. You cannot feel it happening. There is no pain. But over time, This low-grade chronic injury contributes to the deterioration of cells that your body cannot replace. This is one of the reasons why age-related macular degeneration, commonly known as AMD, has become the leading cause of permanent vision loss in Americans over the age of 50. According to the American Academy of Ophthalmology, more than 11 million people in the United States currently have some form of AMD, and that number is projected to nearly double by the year 2050. What is particularly heartbreaking about AMD is how it steals your vision. It does not go all at once. It starts subtly. Straight lines begin to look slightly wavy. Colors seem a little less vivid. You start needing more light to read. Then, the center of your visual field begins to blur. You start losing the ability to see the faces of the people you love. You can no longer read a book, recognize road signs, or thread a needle. And, in the advanced stages, a permanent blind spot forms directly in the center of your vision that nothing can fully restore. Now, let me be very clear here. I am not telling you that checking your phone in the morning is the only cause of AMD. That would be an oversimplification. AMD is a complex condition influenced by genetics, smoking history, cardiovascular health, diet, and several other factors. But what the science increasingly shows is that habitual blue light exposure, particularly during moments of dark adaptation when the eyes are most vulnerable, is a significant and modifiable risk factor. And because it is modifiable, meaning you can actually do something about it, it is worth taking seriously. So let us talk about what actually happens at the biological level when blue light enters your eye. All light on the visible spectrum carries energy, but short wavelength blue light, which is the kind that dominates the screens of smartphones, tablets, and laptops, carries significantly more energy per photon than longer wavelength colors like red or yellow. When this high-energy light strikes the photoreceptor cells of the retina, it triggers a cascade of chemical reactions. Some of these reactions produce free radicals, which are unstable molecules that attack and damage nearby cellular structures. Normally, your retina has antioxidant defense systems in place to neutralize these free radicals. But when the exposure is chronic, or when it happens at a time when the eye is particularly vulnerable, such as right after waking in the dark, those defenses can be overwhelmed. The result is cumulative oxidative damage to the very cells that make vision possible. There is another layer to this story that most people do not know about. There is a specific type of cell in your retina called the retinal pigment epithelium, or RPE cell. These cells perform a critical housekeeping function. Every day they recycle and remove waste material shed by your photoreceptor cells. It is an extraordinarily important job. When RPE cells are healthy, they keep the retina clean and functioning properly. But when RPE cells are repeatedly damaged by oxidative stress, they begin to malfunction. Waste products start to accumulate under the retina in deposits called drusen. These deposits are one of the earliest and most reliable warning signs of AMD. And the cruel irony is that by the time your eye doctor can see drusen forming on the back of your retina, the damage has already been building quietly for years. Now, here is something that genuinely surprised me when I was researching this topic, and I think it will surprise you too. A 2018 laboratory study conducted by researchers at the University of Toledo discovered that blue light exposure causes a toxic chemical reaction inside retinal cells involving a molecule called all-trans-retinol. When blue light strikes this molecule, it triggers a process that essentially turns the molecule into a cellular poison that attacks the mitochondria of the photoreceptor cell. Once damaged in this way, those photoreceptor cells cannot repair themselves, and photoreceptor cells, once they die, do not regenerate. You start your life with a fixed number of them, and protecting what you have becomes increasingly important as you age. But here is where I want to slow down and give you something genuinely useful, because everything I have described so far is building toward a very practical takeaway. The morning phone habit is the most obvious example of this risk, but it is not the only one. Throughout your day, there are several moments when your eyes are in a state of low adaptation and then suddenly exposed to high-intensity screen light, walking from a dimly lit room into a bright screen, waking up in the middle of the night and checking your phone in total darkness, spending several hours in low indoor light, and then staring at a laptop. Each of these situations creates a version of the same problem, and for people over 50 whose macular pigment is already naturally declining, the cumulative impact matters. So, what do ophthalmologists actually recommend? The first and most impactful change is deceptively simple. Give your eyes a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes each morning before you expose them to any screen. Let your pupils naturally adjust to the ambient light in your room before introducing a bright digital display. This alone significantly reduces the contrast shock that your retina experiences during dark adaptation. Open your curtains first. Let natural light gradually fill the room, then reach for your phone. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but from a biological standpoint, those few minutes of gradual light adjustment make a meaningful difference in how much oxidative stress your retinal cells experience. The second recommendation involves the use of blue light filtering technology. Most modern smartphones and tablets now include a night mode or warm display setting that shifts the screen color toward warmer tones and reduces the intensity of short-wavelength blue light emission. Many ophthalmologists recommend keeping this setting active in the morning hours when your eyes are first waking up, and potentially throughout the evening when your eyes are again more vulnerable due to fatigue and reduced natural ambient light. There is also a growing body of evidence supporting the use of blue light filtering lenses in prescription glasses, particularly for people over 50 who spend significant time in front of screens. These are not a miracle solution, but as part of a comprehensive approach, they add a meaningful layer of protection. The third recommendation is nutritional, and this one has some of the strongest research backing of all. Remember the macular pigment we talked about earlier, the natural protective layer inside your eye that declines with age? It is made up primarily of two antioxidants called lutein and zeaxanthin. Your body cannot manufacture these on its own. They must come entirely from what you eat or supplement. Foods richest in lutein and zeaxanthin include dark leafy greens like kale, spinach, and collard greens, as well as egg yolks, corn, orange bell peppers, and peas. A landmark clinical study called AREADS-2, which stands for Age-Related Eye Disease Study 2 and was funded by the National Eye Institute, found that supplementation with lutein and zeaxanthin significantly reduced the risk of progression to advanced AMD in people who already showed early signs of the disease. For people over 50 who want to be proactive, making sure these two nutrients are consistently present in the diet is one of the highest value steps available. Many eye care specialists now recommend a daily intake of around 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin, either through diet or through a quality supplement formulated specifically for eye health. There is one more thing I want to address before we wrap up, and it is something that genuinely concerns me about the way we talk about eye health in this country. We tend to think of vision loss as something that just happens to some people, like bad luck or genetics, and that there's not much we can do about it. That fatalistic mindset is one of the most dangerous things for eye health because it stops people from making small, consistent, protective choices. The truth is that while genetics absolutely play a role in conditions like AMD, the research consistently shows that lifestyle choices can significantly shift your risk profile. Smoking, for instance, doubles or even triples the risk of developing AMD. Poor diet, chronic high blood pressure, obesity, and lack of physical activity are all independently associated with higher rates of macular degeneration. And on the flip side, people who eat nutrient-rich diets, maintain healthy blood pressure, avoid smoking, and protect their eyes from unnecessary light damage have substantially better long-term outcomes. Your eyes are extraordinary organs. They are essentially a direct extension of your brain, containing more than 120 million photoreceptor cells, supported by an incredibly complex network of blood vessels, nerve cells, and protective tissue. They are also among the most metabolically active tissues in your entire body, which means they require constant nutrition and are particularly vulnerable to the kind of oxidative damage that accumulates quietly over decades. Giving them even a fraction of the attention we give to our heart health or our joint health could make a profound difference in the quality of your vision in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. I want to hear from you now, and I mean that genuinely. Think about your own morning routine. Be honest with yourself. Are you one of the millions of people who reaches for the phone before the sun has even properly risen? Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and checked your messages in complete darkness? Or maybe you have already made some changes to protect your eyes, and you have noticed a difference. Whatever your experience is, drop it in the comments below right now. Tell me what your morning looks like, and tell me whether this information changes anything for you. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to see to finally make that small change that protects their vision for the rest of their life. And if you found this genuinely useful, please share this video with someone over 50 who you care about, a parent, a spouse, a close friend. Because the honest truth is that most people will not find out about this until a doctor is already pointing at early drusen on a retinal scan, and by then the most important window for prevention has already passed. You now know something most people do not. Use it.